Hey everyone, welcome back. So first things off, you guys are having a wild already conversation in the comments about Riot. So we'll get into Riot, we'll get into everything that's going on. I'm going live a little fast, about 6 minutes or so. And that's only because I'm all set and ready to go. So I'm just kind of twiddling my thumbs here anyways. So here we go live. Sorry about not doing this live stream yesterday. I didn't get done until like 10:30 with this other gentleman that came out to help me with installing the hood vent range for the range. So it was like by the time I would have taken a shower, gotten down here, it would have been like 12 o'clock or something like that. So we're going to catch up on things today. We're going to talk about Riot. We'll take a look at their results. There's things that I'm not happy about. We'll go over that. We'll also talk about Yahoo blocking press releases from the miners. We'll talk about that as well. We'll do that before Riot. And then we'll get into your guys' Q&A side of things. We'll look at the miners as always and Bitcoin, see how it did today. And we'll call it a day. So as always, you guys know the drill here, not financial advice for entertainment only. Do your own research. My full disclosure down below that. Hit the like button if you enjoy this type of content. As always, helps me out tremendously here. So let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin really quick and the miners. Bitcoin is having a continuation of a downtrend that we've been kind of having this last couple of days since Monday. Monday we got to 70,000 and then now we are at 64,963. What's going on there? Who knows? I mean, right now we're at the support line here, which is at the green line. Right now at 63,000, like 750, somewhere around there. That's our support line. We did bounce off yesterday, which was today, basically, on the 100-day moving average here. But it didn't last long. We kind of bounced off of it and continued coming down. So we either hold 63,750 range right here, or we continue going down. And then if we do, we might be coming back down even further here. I'm thinking maybe, we'll see if this works out, but I drew a little triangle here. The way things have been shaping up here from the bottoms and the tops here. And the way I'm seeing things right now is that it might be over in sometime towards the end of November, possibly. If we are going to continue to trade this range bound a little bit here. But that would be kind of interesting. I was thinking that maybe in Q3, or more like in Q4, towards like September, October, November, those months is when Bitcoin possibly takes off a little bit more. And this gets us past this will get us past the U.S. presidential election as well. And then maybe after that, we start going up beyond our previous all-time high. We'll see if this holds. If it doesn't, that'd be a good thing also. I'd be happy with that if that happens. But if we do go sideways for quite a few more months here, I think this is a good time to accumulate if you can. Dollar cost average in. That's kind of what I'm going to be doing here. If we do, I'll take it as a gift in the short term. Long term, I'm still very bullish on Bitcoin, the miners as well. So I'm not too worried about this. But at least it gives us something to maybe look at going forward. We'll see how this holds up. All right, now the miners today had a mixed day. They were up nicely in the morning, but then they started to pull back a little bit more. IREN had a really great day. So did Bit Digital. They were up above 7%. Stronghold was up 10% today. Wolf was up 8% today. Hive was up 4%. CORZ was up 5 3/4. Cleanspark was up almost 2% here. So it was a pretty good day. Bitfarms was up 2.78, and then some miners were down. Not that much, though, like 1 or 2 percentage points. So it wasn't too bad of a day overall on this. Okay. So that's it for those. Let's take a look at the first thing we're going to take a look at here is Tyler Page, CEO of Cypher. He tweeted this or posted this, I guess. And I thought this was just quite interesting because I've been kind of seeing the same thing where I'm not seeing like the press releases coming online on Yahoo. And I was wondering what's going on there. I thought maybe they had an issue here, but it looks like maybe they're just starting to block things. So here's what Tyler had to say. For 4 years, our team has poured a lot of sweat and tears and late hours into building Cypher Inc. from a PowerPoint deck to a sizable pubco. Just when public momentum seems to be favoring Bitcoin mining, more roadblocks. Right. So today, Yahoo Finance informed us that that they will no longer carry our press releases because they no longer accept cryptocurrency-related news releases from any newswire. WTF. We jumped through a million hoops to be a compliant public company, and we get this. We announced our earnings date on August 13th in a press release that is mysteriously missing. That release violates a policy. Something is rotten. Thank God for X, Elon Musk, Caitlin Long, and Nick Carter. Right now, I agree with this. This is crazy. These are publicly traded companies that are listed on the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, whatever it might be. They have to follow all of the rules of the SEC. And on top of that, you have this one entity, Yahoo, which is publicly traded also, but they, for whatever reason, just decided, well, if you talk about Bitcoin or any cryptocurrencies or anything like that, you're not going to be put on there. But I was looking at the Yahoo finance side of things. And we had two releases today. One was from Cleanspark and one was from Hive as well, which was kind of surprising. And I think maybe they didn't mention anything in Bitcoin in those, and those got through. Cleanspark just reported that they are going to be reporting their Q2 or their Q3, our Q2 financial results next week sometime. I don't think it had any mention of Bitcoin or anything like that, so I think that's maybe why it went through. But it was just interesting here. And then down here, Tyler goes on to say, I would love an explanation of why our company's press releases are no longer carried on Yahoo Finance, and can you tell me what other NASDAQ exchange-listed companies are also being censored, right? Because it's basically censorship. SEC wants the public companies to provide press releases, and they do that through different avenues, but that all should be listed and should be available to all investors. He goes on to ask, Sailor, have you been informed that Yahoo Finance will no longer carry MicroStrategy press releases? Jack, how about Blocks? Brent Armstrong, Emily Choi, Coinbase. How about Coinbase as well? Right. So this is all just a bunch of FUD here that's going on Yahoo right now, which is kind of interesting to see that is happening. And it also makes it hard for me now, because now I have to go through pretty much every single publicly traded miner to find out if there's a press release on them. And then Sue Ennis also chimes in here as well. Agreed, it's ludicrous. Progress is being made on all fronts. Regulatory, political, general adoption by the masses. And Comrade Yahoo wants to censor and is in reverse. Disappointing to say the least. So my little thought on this is, could Yahoo Finance be in cahoots with the Democrats possibly on this? I mean, why else would you block it? A press release is a press release. It's not, they're not telling you to buy cryptocurrencies. They're just telling you about their operations, how they're operating and what's going on there. So it seems very, very crazy to me that this is happening. It's unfortunate. And I was trying to find some other services that would provide an aggregate basically of the press releases from the companies. And it's hard to find anybody that has a good and easy place to use it. Yahoo had a really nice setup where, you created your own list of miners that you're watching, and you would get basically a timeline of all the press releases from all those guys in one spot. It was really nice. So yeah, I don't know what you guys feel about this. I think this is just nasty that Yahoo's doing this. And maybe if they get enough pushback on this, maybe they will reverse course, but we will see. All right, but I'm definitely disappointed in Yahoo for this. So I'll be looking for another provider where I can possibly get all this information in one little page here. But thank you for Tyler for bringing this to our attention. I think this is very important for the industry, for the investors as well. They should be getting all the press releases, but we'll see what happens with this. All right, so that's it for that one. Let's take a look at Riot here. So Riot came out with their Q2 results here. They now have 303,524,067 shares outstanding, so they did dilute quite a bit here. We'll go over the numbers here, and I did pull in all of these numbers down here into my spreadsheets. But let's get into their press release here. Riot's press release wasn't even available on Yahoo Finance either when I checked a couple hours ago. Let's see if it's actually popped up now. Let me do that. Let's see here. Finance, Yahoo, really quick, see if that pops up. Miners, and this is what I'm talking about, where it's like pretty nice here. Yeah, Riot's not in here anywhere. So we got Cleanspark, discussion for third quarter. Hive digital size agreement, right? But I don't know if they have anything mentioned in cryptocurrencies or block or Bitcoin or anything like that. But Riot's missing. So how would you know that they reported anything? It's just they're doing a disservice, I think, to their users, to their customers, which is unfortunate. All right, never mind. Let's get back into Riot here. So Riot Platforms report second quarter 2024 financial results, current operations or operational and financial highlights. Okay, so down here, I think I highlighted some of the things that I thought were important. So total revenue for the 3-month period ended June 30th was $70 million and consisted of $55.8 million in Bitcoin mining revenue and $9.6 million in engineering revenue. Other revenue attributable to third-party hosting totaled $4.6 million. Okay, so that's the other side of the revenue there. Let's see here. Selling general and administrative expenses during the quarter totaled $61.2 million. They generated $70 million and their costs were $61.2 million. Here's the reason why. An increase of $41.4 million relative to the same period in 2023. The increase was primarily due to increase in stock compensation expenses of $32.1 million. That's just, to me, that's just crazy right here. That is a lot of stock-based compensation here. 32.1 million related to new grants under our long-term incentive program. You know, based on this incentive program, it's like I want to work for Riot. I want to be a part of that cash cow there. Selling general administrative expenses was also impacted by a 3.8 million increase in advisory expenses related to ongoing M&A activity. So that's basically them trying to buy out Bitfarms, and also they just bought out Block. So that's part of that. That I can understand. This 32.1 million is really frustrating. Hash rate growth, Riot anticipates achieving a total self-mining hash rate, a capacity of 36 exahash by the end of 2024. And there was something down here. ATM offerings. Okay. So in February 2024, the companies entered into a 2024 ATM offering under which it could offer and sell up to 750 million in shares of the company's common stock. During the 6 months ended June 30th, the company received net proceeds of approximately 516 million. Proceeds with 10.6 million in commissions and expenses from the sale of 42.7 million shares of its common stock at a weighted average fair value of $12.33 per share under its 2024 offering, previous to 2020. Okay. Subsequent to June 30th, 2024, and through July 29th, the company received net proceeds of approximately 61 million from the sale of 6 million shares, roughly at 949 shares. And then as of July 29, the company had 303 million, which we already talked about here previous year. Okay. So they definitely have been playing on the ATM here. They're almost done with it. They may have, another 100-some million left, roughly, barely. Right, they're going to be at 600 million here, roughly, from where they are, 527.61. So that is at, 588 million. So they still have about 112 million left? No, 162 million left, possibly to draw on. So still quite a bit left there, but it's getting close to being completed. So once they complete it, they'll probably do another one. For next time, they'll do probably $1 billion. So we'll see on that one. Okay. Basically, the numbers that I do have here for them, we'll get up to Riot up here. So I've included the number of shares here now, which is at 303 million. That makes them, with the latest stock price today at 10.19, market cap of 3.09 billion right now. Their performance over the last 12 weeks hasn't been too bad. I mean, you can see they're up 7.5% from 12 weeks ago. They're up 15% from 8 weeks ago. From 4 weeks ago, they're up 22%. Last week, they had a pretty good week at 14% up on that one. Let's see what else can we take a look at here really quick. HODL is still as of the end of June, which was 9,334. That's 615 million valued there right now. BTC HODL has been increasing for them. Hash rate has increased nicely here in June. We'll see how much uptime they have in that in July. I'd like to see that closer to 22 exahash on average for that, or if we get it close to like 18 exahash or even like 20 or something like that, I think that would be a really good sign there. If it's anything below that, that's not going to be good, I think. And then let's see here. Last 4 quarters revenue. So revenue has been coming down here. The best one has been in Q1 with 74.6 million. This is just for self-mining. This does not include other services or other revenue. Q2 came in at 55.76 million for the self-mining. Current quarter is right now estimated, so we're only in July right now. We still have 2 more months to go. That's going to change, but this is current quarter estimated based on what they have roughly mined in the past. And their hash rate being the same here. Hash rate increases, that's going to help them out. And if they have much better uptime, that's also going to help them out there. Last 4 quarters operating costs, self-mining minus depreciation. Q2 came in at 35.2 million here for the, self-mining costs. So that's down from 41, so that's good there. Other metrics, cost to mine 1 Bitcoin minus depreciation came in at 41.7. Bitcoin mine quarterly has been coming down. We kind of knew that was going to happen anyways because of the halving event. That, we're down to half of where they were in Q4, roughly or so. Debt to equity lower is better. Still really good, healthy balance sheet here. 0.0376 on the debt to equity current ratio. Down a little bit here to 7.6, but still really healthy balance sheet. I mean, nothing really to complain there. Total current assets have come down to 743 million, down a little bit from Q1. Total current liabilities increased a little bit here to 97 million from 92 million. Not that big of a deal. They got plenty of cash to pay off if they wanted to. All right. Now, let's take a look at some numbers down here. We'll take a look at some of the metrics up here in a second here. Let's get into, so we talked about current assets, right? Those decreased a little bit here from Q1. That wasn't too bad. Main change here was cash equivalents. That went down by about 200 million or so. And let's see here if they had anything else. No, that's about it. Derivative assets increased a little bit here, prepaid, things like that. So, and they had investments in marketable equity securities at fair value, 157 million. I wonder if that's the investment in Bitfarms there. I wonder if that's it. So the change might have been from here to there, basically. Going down to total assets, that's at 2.7 million, increase from 2.6 million, so that's good there. Property and equipment increased to 1 billion, basically, from 821 million. That's good. Bitcoin valued came down. We knew Bitcoin value is going to come down for some of these guys here, and they're at 585 million compared to 605 million, so down about, 20 million or so. So it's not too bad. Current liabilities increased, like we talked about, 97 million from 92. Total liabilities is up a little bit here to 139 million from 135 million. And then total liabilities and stockholder equity is at 2.7, so that's up from the 2.6 that they had there. Revenues, okay, important parts. Mining revenue was 55 million here, definitely down about 20 million from the prior quarter here. Engineering was up actually, so that was good to see there. Other revenue, this is for hosting, was 4.6, and then total revenue came in at 70 million compared to 79, so they're down about 10 million or so of that. 9 million something. Self-mining percentage of revenue was 79% of their total revenue. What else do we have here? Okay, expenses. Mining, 35 million compared to 41 million, so that was good to see that actually came down. Hosting, they're not putting that down. Engineering was 8.2, so that's quite a bit there from the 9.6 that they made. So they're making, 15% profit on engineering probably, something like that maybe. And then selling general administrative was 61 million here compared to 57 million. So another 4 million increase on that, 4.5 million roughly. Depreciation and amortization up a little bit here, so that's fine. Change in fair value Bitcoin, 76 million here. So they took a hit on it, whereas Q1 they had an actual 234 million improvement on it. Change in fair value of derivative assets, that was down 27, so that's up a little bit here. Power curtailment credits up to 13 million, was 14 million from 5 million, so that was good. We're heading into the summer months. It's going to get probably even better in the next 2 months, probably July, August, and September. They should get a lot of power credits. That's when they usually get those. For that, going down here, total costs and expenses, 187 million, whereas they were negative 124 million because of the revaluation of Bitcoin there. So let's see here. What else do we have here? Other operating expenses. What was it? Unrealized loss on marketable equity securities. That was a new one here that we haven't seen here in a while. That was 24.4 million here. And net loss came in at negative 84 million compared to 211 million positive in Q1. So they lost 32 cents per share. And if we take out depreciation from that, they would be still negative 18 cents on it, based on the number of shares that they have right now, or reported as the average shares in a quarter. Okay, going up here to some of the metrics that we do have here on them. If we look at their, let's just go up here to general administrative compensation compared to the revenue. So 61.189 million compared to the revenue of 70 million. That is 87% of the revenues. That is just crazy. And we've seen that also in Q1. They had also just crazy compensation at that point for stock-based compensation. At that point it was 72% here. And they were at 34 million, I think. Let's see, take a look at it here. Selling general administrative depreciation, I think, it's not listed here, but I think it was like 34 million, I think is what I saw when I looked back. So you got 34 million and you got 32 million this time. You're at 66 million already. If they continue this on this path going forward throughout the year, they're going to be like at, what is it going to be, like 130 some odd million in stock-based compensation. Right, I keep harping on that because that's just a ludicrously high number for me. Especially for Bitcoin miners here. I think they're like the most generous when it comes to compensation to their teams, their employees, and everything else. Okay, so we covered that. Debt to EBITDA was negative 3.5. EV to EBITDA was negative 54. EBITDA was negative 38 million. Enterprise value was 2.1 billion here. Price to book ratio 1.197. And then book value of equity 2.5 billion. We talked about current and debt ratios already. Cost to mine Bitcoin, 41,000. If we look at cost to mine 1 Bitcoin, this is taking into account engineering and things like that being removed out of it. And we're looking at the total cost and expenses. So it came in at like 211,000 for them. to mine 1 Bitcoin here based on that, which is just crazy. But normally we would just look at the cost to mine 1 Bitcoin minus depreciation on this. We got 41 based on them mining 845 Bitcoin here. They started with hash rate in the quarter at 12.4 exahash, ended with 22 exahash installed, not fully energized yet. So the average hash rate would have been 17 exahash at that point. Okay, so takeaways from this. Full transparency, I don't own Riot shares, and this might be one of the reasons why I don't. Just their operations in the past haven't been great. And now I'm seeing the stock-based compensation. That really just puts me off on that. I think you can give stock-based compensation. I'm not against it at all. But I think it has to be within reason, to be honest. And I could be just wrong on that, but I think that's just too high. But maybe they just have those plans in place already, and they got to do what they got to do. So if anything, maybe the board over there has to get things realigned with shareholders' interests maybe a little bit more, instead of giving out these stupendous compensations to the employees and to the management there. But that's just my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think on this. And yeah, we'll call it a day here. Oh, going down here. I almost forgot. So estimates have been upgraded here. I'm using the latest numbers here. And for Q2 numbers, I was only off by 0.4% on the Bitcoin mining side of revenue. So I had them at 55.5 million in revenue. They came in at 55.7. Pretty good here, being off by only 0.4%, on a little bit on the lower side here. So I'm really happy with that. For September ending numbers here, I'm looking at about 49 million here for them. And that's just based on them mining the same amount of days that they mined basically in June, I think it was. Yeah, June. We're using the same numbers for July here, August, and September with the same amount of hash rate. So if their hash rate increases, that's going to help them out. Bitcoin goes up, it's going to help them out as well. Operational uptime is going to help out also. But that's kind of where we're at right now. So I have them between 791 and 1187 right now, based on the last 3 quarters and the current quarter that we're in, that's estimated. And they're at 1019. So I do think that they are kind of fairly valued right now. But if Bitcoin goes up, that will change as well. All right. I think we got through it all. Let's get into your guys' Q&A side of things. But as always, my dear Patreon members get access to all of these spreadsheets here. Link for that is in the description down below. And it's $8 a month. If you pay annually, you get 10% off on top of that as well. And you might be able to find a couple spots that are still open in the $5 or $4 range. Plus, the Patreon members get access to our private Discord server as well, where you guys can ask me questions there at any time. And I usually try to respond by the end of the day. All right, so that is it. My sales pitch is done and over with. Let's get into your guys' Q&A side of things. Let's see what you guys' thoughts are on all this stuff here that's happening. All right, let's see what do we got going on here. I'm trying to find some questions. I'm going to go back up a little bit here just to see if there's any questions back in there. Let's see. See, Jerry says, dang, BTC dropping hard. Yikes. Yeah, it's at that range at 63,780 right now, if we look at it here. So it's getting close to that support line here. We'll see if that support line holds or not. If it goes below it, then we're looking at possibly at what is the next support line here. We might bounce off the 50-day moving average here, simple day moving average. If that doesn't hold, we're going down to like the 61,000 mark, somewhere around there possibly. Okay. Go back here. And there we go. Let's see. David says, that's a ridiculous amount of stock-based compensation, almost criminal. Yeah, I mean, it's not criminal. It's in their bylaws or whatever that's in there, but it's a lot. Let's see. P.S. Would you why isn't that popping up? There it is. Would you convert Riot into Bitfarms based on these earnings call and future growth? That is going to have to be your call. I think so here's a caveat. If Riot can fix their issues with the uptime and everything else, I think they're going to have a much better path going forward. Bitfarms, I think, is also undervalued right now. I think they should be probably like around $4 to $5 from where they are right now to be just fairly valued with everybody else. So being that said, and then possible getting to 21 exahash by the end of the year with Bitfarms, and then having the roadmap to get to 35 exahash sometime next year, we don't know exactly when. I do think that Bitfarms also has a really great path forward. So that is up to you. I mean, if you're in the green on Riot, maybe take out a small position, put it into Bitfarms. I don't know. it's something to think about. Let's see. Bitfarms should be worth 40 million per exahash. Let's see. Riot has a new PR problem with Bitfarms shareholders. What's the new problem? David says, "Hey Seb, sorry for the BTC dip. I bought another half of Bitcoin at 66,000 earlier. The BTC gods hate me temporarily when I buy." No, they don't. Bitcoin's going to do what it's going to do in the long run, but in the long run, it's going to go up. So no need to apologize on that one. I've done that in the past too. Bought something and it dipped, but just, I think it's still a pretty good price right now to where we might be in the next year or so. SH says, at this point, we have no proposal to buy Bitfarms. The only thing is on our radar is the October shareholder meeting. Jason Les, CEO, Riot. Yeah, so they're trying to get the board members approved there that they want to get on there. 3 board members. So we'll see if that gets passed. If that gets passed, then it gets a little more interesting as far as how many board members does Bitfarms have of their own at that point. So if Bitfarms still has 4 board members and they have 3, they still have basically a majority at that point. Bitfarms would, and then we'll see if the other board members can sway Bitfarms board members to possibly going through with a merger. But by then, I'm hoping that Bitcoin will start to go up. Bitfarms shares prices should go up at that point as well. And if that happens, then it might be just unattractive to buy Bitfarms at that point. We'll see. Let's see. Warman says, Riot having high employee compensation is crazy. They pay their employees by far the worst at $15 for technicians, while other miners pay $20, $25. All this tech compensation is going to executives. Oh, that's interesting. I don't have the insights on that, but that would not be good if that was the case. Let's see. Is the G&A expense for Riot similar to Mara? Is it really highest among all these tier 1 companies like Mara, Cleanspark and Mara? Yeah, general administrative. So if you include stock-based compensation, here, let's take a look at the one prior to that. Let me pull that up. So we'll take a look at it right here. So let's take a look at Cleanspark here really quick. There's Cleanspark going down here from the Q2 results, which were our Q1 results for them. So these are not the latest results. We're still waiting for them. Let's see here. General administrative compensation was 23 million. So that was only 21% of the revenue here, right? And that includes, let's see. That includes stock-based compensation. General administrative expenses, if we just look at those alone, that was only 6.1% there. So that's Cleanspark. If we look at Marathon from the last quarter results, Marathon, let's see, where did they came in? They came in pretty high too. They were at general administrative compensation at 73 million. So right around even higher than Marathon is. But let's see. Let's go down here if we can find it, if it's subdivided out. All legal fees, compensation, professional general, yeah, they don't break it out anymore. So general administrative was 73 million. They're also paying themselves pretty handily here on it. But we'll see what they come in with Q2. In the past, let me see, in the past they were were they lower? Yeah, I mean, look at here, 39 million. So they had, I think, just bonuses added in here, but they were at 39 million here. Based on that, it was only 25% of the revenue here. So definitely a big jump here in Q1. We'll see what Q2 numbers look for them on that one. Okay. So that's it for that. Going back over here. Let's see. Okay, got that one. Eddie says, I'm convinced HPC BTC miners like IREN follows the price action of NVIDIA. Thoughts? Not unless they get... So here's my thought on this. The big thing is we only have, I've said this before, is Core and BitDigital that have sizable contracts, you could say, with HPC customers. Nobody else has that right now. And the hard part on that is we're hearing all this talk about how there's such a demand for it all, but we're not seeing it being executed by the miners. So what's up with it? And that's the question that I have here. Is anybody that's trying to get to do HPC or do AI, do they need inference? Do they need scalability? If they need any of those things, they're going to go with a hyperscaler like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Oracle, or even Meta, possibly. They're going to go that route because you can scale your systems quickly if you're like a customer-facing AI, right? If you're just doing large language models or something like that, yeah, you can use the Bitcoin miners for that, but you're not going to have the long contracts like we're seeing with BitDigital and CoreWeave with Core Scientific. So an only way I think that some of these miners might play out with the HPC side of things is if they have a sizable contract like Core or BitDigital possibly. But even BitDigital is not being valued on it because they don't own any infrastructure. So I think maybe that's a little... investors are also looking into that as a consideration for it, possibly. So you got to look at all the different aspects of it. Let's see. PS, so what are your thoughts on Riot? Can they still 3 to 5x since Riot owns 16% Bitfarms? Is takeover a possibility? I don't know if a takeover is still possible. Well, first they got to try to get the board members on there that they want on there, right? After that, can those board members sway the other board members to vote in favor of a takeover? And right now, Riot does not have basically a buyout bid at Bitfarms, at least not right now. So I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's maybe like a 5 to 10% chance that it might happen. The other 95 to 90%, I think it won't happen. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. We'll see how we'll see how Bitfarms can execute on their growth, what the stock price is in the next couple months. All that stuff is going to make I think, big difference in the way that maybe Riot approaches this. As far as Riot, can they still do a 3 to 5x from where they are right now? I still think so. If Bitcoin gets to 150,000, 200,000, I think they can still get a 3 to 5x. But we definitely would like to see much better uptimes for their operations, much better average hash rate, operational as well, those types of things. Let's see. Do you think IREN will announce 40 exahash end of year for next earnings call? Would be wild. I mean, yeah, I think it would be great if they could do that, right? Originally, they were trying to get to 20 exahash by the end of the year. They upped that timeline or decreased that timeline to end of Q3, and so they're getting to 30 exahash by the end of Q4. So that they could possibly do that. We'll have to see how well they can build out. But I haven't heard anything about as far as being bought right now for miners to get to 40 exahash. I think they have options to buy more miners, but they don't have anything in concrete right now. But that'd be cool. What would it take for IREN to reach $100 per share so I can retire? See, the current, well, they need to grow. Like all the miners need to grow. So if they can grow to 40 exahash sometime next year, 50 exahash even, based on their build-out schedule and everything else, and then Bitcoin can get to 150,000, 200,000, at that point, I think that is a possibility, somewhere around there. My target for IREN is around $80 at the peak. Right, the peak could be also just 1 or 2 days before we come back crashing down. But I think that's kind of where things look right now. Let's see. 1S says, Senator Loomis released the Bitcoin Act bill. Contact your legislators to push this forward. Yes, a good point. I forgot to mention this. Yeah, she put that out. She said that she was going to do that at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville, and she did do that. So that's great news there for us. Let's see. Found 5K to add into miners. Currently, I own Cleanspark, Bitfarms, IREN, and CORZ. What else can I buy? You got pretty. Well, you got the good ones there already. Who else could you get into? I think you can possibly get into also some of the ones. Okay, so I think maybe Marathon and Riot are potentials there. I think BitDigital also, if they come up with news that they are buying infrastructure possibly, which Sam has said that they are looking at as well. And if they increase their hash rate going forward for this year, I think that would be good good catalyst for them. Cypher, there's rumors that they are possibly getting bought out. We haven't heard anything concrete. TeraWolf, there's some rumors that they might be getting a HPC customer. We don't know about that. So look at those as well. But really hard to tell right now where to really get into it. Maybe diversify a little bit on that one. Question. Hi, Seb. Considering Riot earnings reports, would you sell Riot at break even for another miner? Not finished advice, of course. I'm not liking this absurd self-compensation. Thank you. If you break even, yeah, I mean, if you're not happy with them, I think there's possibly better miners to get into. But then if Riot fixes their issues with uptime, and maybe they decrease some of the compensation for the share-based compensation there, that might look pretty good. But right now, it's not looking good for them. At least the optics are not great. What do you think of Anthony Power saying that the acquisition between Riot and Bitfarms is a matter of when, not if? I don't agree with that. He seems to think that the merger of those two would be better for the miners or for the shareholders there. Maybe, maybe not. I'm still thinking that if there's a buyout, the buyout I think has to be substantial. I think the board and Ben knows what they are possibly worth. If they can get to 21 exahash this year and next year, I think that's going to be a lot better for the stock if they stay separated. But yes, those two combining with the expertise that Bitfarms has in overseas, Riot with the cash that they have, that would make a very powerful company there combined. But that would mean that probably Ben would be moving someplace else, possibly unless they offered him, $1 million or more a year. And I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know exactly what his number would be, but I'm just saying they would have to offer him substantially to stay on, because right now he's the CEO. Are you more bullish on IREN versus Bitfarms? I'm bullish on equally on both of them, actually. I think Bitfarms is a little bit more undervalued right now than IREN, but IREN was undervalued for a while there, and I got into that as well. I kind of FOMO'd into a little bit because I saw it was going up after they had good announcement, and I wanted to buy more shares, and the shares were starting to run on me. So okay, I got to buy more because it's running away from me, and I'm glad that I did that. Let's see. Hi Seb, Soluna Holdings. What about them? I thought I saw a news story from them today. I could be wrong on that one. Maybe I'm missing something there. Hi Seb, how do you see Bitcoin price from August and November before U.S. elections? Are you expecting big pump before or after Trump's victory? Okay, so let's take a look at the charts. I'm not a charts guy, but I try to toy with it a little bit, and I'm just looking for some patterns. So I do see a triangle here. That's from the bottom where we were. This is going back to October, sometime around last year, and then I'm just plotting the lows here, right, and going way out. And I did the same thing from the highs here when we reached 73,000 something, and then just trying to catch the lower highs and where those two would actually meet up, and that would be actually here at like Wednesday, the 27th of November. So if we stay in this channel and this wedge here for the next couple months here, I would expect us to possibly break out of that after the elections, or if that doesn't work out, we might be falling down more. I hope not. I hope that's not the case, but my original thought was that we would possibly be going up in like September, October, November timeframe, and this may coincide with this. So we'll see how that plays out. Okay. So any thoughts on Soluna Holdings? They're a smaller miner. They do a lot of projects where they take on partners for that. So they are splitting the revenue there as well on it. I don't know. I wish them all the best. I have to look more into them. I covered them in 2022. Then they got into financial troubles. They got a new CEO there. They seem to be doing a lot better with the new CEO. So we'll see how they do going forward. Let's see here. CDN North says, Wall Street said that Casey, not Anthony. Let's see. Okay. Getting confused there. I'm not sure what that's going on. Let's see. Seb, rank them in order of which miner has the most potential for the highest price appreciation in the next 12 to 18 months. BitDigital, IREN, Hive, Wolf, CORZ. Thinking about cutting half my Riot position by Friday. Out of those guys, I think it might be IREN. IREN might be the top one there, followed by possibly CORZ also. CORZ I would put in there. It would be tough. CORZ is going to get revenue from the HPC side of business sometime in 2025, probably in the first half, sometime maybe even in the first quarter. That would be beneficial to them there. IREN's building out great. They have a great operations as well. If they get some kind of an HPC, which I don't know that they will, but it's sizable for a long term. BitDigital, same thing. If they can actually get infrastructure bought for themselves, I think that would help the stock. Hive is going to be growing to 12 exahash by sometime next year. But at that point, I think they're going to be still at the 1% of the network hash rate. That's kind of their goal there. And then what else we got there? Wolf, if they can continue to grow, they paid off their debt here, but that's going to be listed on this, or will it? trying to think if that was in June or if that was in July that they listed that that their debt was paid off. But they paid off their debt, which is good. Now they can actually focus on growth going forward. And they are committing some megawatts to HPCI as well. So we'll see what they get from that. That's kind of the way I would go at it right now. Okay. I thought miners and BTC were tied to rates. After today, I have to wonder. Technical analysis guys keep moving their goalposts. When is the latest that you would be concerned about the BTC not breaking out? Probably if we get into like November, December timeframe, where we're still at like 67,000 or something like that. That's when I would start getting concerned on that one, because typically Bitcoin, I mean, right now is kind of when it should be actually moving after the halving event, but it could be slow growth. It doesn't have to be a huge, God candle or anything like that. But I think just a slow growth upward, we should start seeing it right about now. We're 100 some odd days past halving event. That's kind of where we start seeing Bitcoin start to do pretty good. But typically we see it in like September, October, November range is when Bitcoin really does well at that point. So we may still have to go through August in choppy waters before we start climbing out, but we'll see. Let's see. I think you're asking, do you think mine, so maybe Marathon will mine 253 Bitcoin for July and get, or are you talking about Bitfarms, the 12x hash? So I think maybe you're talking about Bitfarms there. Well, we'll get Bitfarms report tomorrow if that's the one you're talking about. First of the month is when they always report. So we'll get that information there. I would like to see them being closer to 12x a hash. Yes. Will they get to 12x a hash? I don't know for sure. Let's see. Price per ejection of Cleanspark, IREN, and Bitfarms. So Bitcoin reaches 125,000. That's basically a double from where it's at right now. At that point, I would think those guys would be at least 3 to 5x from here. So I think Bitfarms should be at like $4 or $5 right now. If it did a 3x, it'd be like at $15, something like that, possibly like $12 to $15. Let's see. Cleanspark is at what, like $17, $16, something like that. So a 3x from there would be in the 30s, in the 40s, something like that, possibly, if we start going up there. IREN, same thing. IREN's at $10 roughly right now. That would be at least a probably like a $30 or $40 stock, possibly, if it works out that way. Then normally that Bitcoin goes 2x, the miners would do at least 3x or like a 6x, but I'm being conservative on it, so I'm saying 3 to 5x on it somewhere. Let's see, 7th, Hanuman says, I think Wolf will break 25 by end of Q1 next year. Yeah, might be. Bitcoin goes up next year. Yeah, it could. Let's see. A problem with Riot is the amount of dilution. They're still diluting, and after they're done, they'll just dilute more immediately. TA doesn't factor that in. Well, all the miners are diluting, so we can't just blame it on Riot alone. Everybody's doing it. Do you have any stocks on the radar apart from miners? The only one that I have on the radar is Rivian right now, and I'll probably get into Rivian after we're done with this cycle in Bitcoin miners. I think Rivian is a longer term play, like a 5 to 10 year play, whereas the miners are now like a 12 to 18 months play. So I'm not too worried yet on the other stocks. Let's see. David says, big bag of wolf still. I really like the way that they're running their company and no debt now. Yeah, the debt was a concern for me there in the past, but they got that paid off. I'm sure it's going to be through dilution, but at least they got that paid off. And I said that they're better off diluting to pay that debt off than having that hang over their head. So they did the right thing, I think. Let's see. Did you go visit IREN table at BTC conference and meet Robert? No, I did not. I got there Thursday afternoon, met up with Anthony, Bryce, and all the other people on Twitter, Bitcoin stock mining guy, Bitcoin Bella, Freedom by 40, Penny Ether, and then Friday morning I got sick, sore throat and body aches, and I decided to go home because I had an 8-hour drive ahead of me. So I'm like, if I'm going to get sick, I want to be sick at home and not be sick at a hotel and then feel like crap. So I did not. I'm hoping maybe next year when they go to Las Vegas, I'll be able to attend that as well, and I'll be able to meet some of the more people there. Let's see. Is anything being paid by Riot? Yes, they are. Well, Anthony and Bryce, because of power mining analysis, they are, I believe, Riot is paying for services. Yes. Let's see. Yep. Okay. So yeah, I thought I saw something. So Soluna announces sustainable AI Soluna cloud supported by Hewlett Packard Enterprises. Yes, you're correct. Yeah. Do you know how much how many megawatts are putting into that possibly? But yeah, I saw that. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah. So like I said, I think the new CEO there is doing a great job compared to what they were doing prior. Okay, so on Riot's conference call today, Jason said, at this point, we have no proposal to buy Bitfarms. The only thing is on the radar is the October shareholder meeting. If Riot couldn't buy Bitfarms, would they sell it? No, because they need the shares in order to get the board members approved on there, or at least have a shareholder vote to get their board members approved. Let's see. Robin says, I'm a no vote for Riot and Bitfarms. I'm the same way. I'm not voting. I'll be voting against it. I don't want Riot board members on there. Let's see. Okay, David says the same thing. He's got 5,500 shares of Riot and 17,000 of shares of Bitfarms. I'll absolutely be voting no to Riot's proposal. Yeah, I mean, retail might be voting no, but what about institutions? How will they vote? So that's going to be the question there, I think. What is your value for CORZ Bitcoin business? Well, right now that's all we have anyway. So if we look at CORZ by themselves, because we don't have the Bitcoin business right now, here's the screen. Okay, so right now, based on the number of shares that we have at 170 million shares, something like that, we know it's going to double basically to about 400 some million shares after the warrants get exercised. I have in between 19.22 and 28.83. This is before the dilution. So if we dilute by 50%, you're looking at somewhere between $9.60 to $14.40, something like that. They're at 9.75. I do think that they're undervalued a little bit here right now. No, but we'll wait to see what we get as far as Q2 results, and then we'll get that updated to see how that matches up. Okay. What else we got here? Let's see. Hive has 555 days consolidating. This is very bullish thoughts. Well, it's consolidating only, I think, because they haven't had really huge growth going forward. And that they're not very, what's the word I want to use here? I don't want to, they're not very, I wouldn't say ambitious, but I think they're not very aggressive, I guess you could say, in their hash rate growth. They want to maintain 1% hash rate of the network hash rate, which is fine. And I think that's why the stock is doing what it's doing right now, unfortunately. Otherwise, their operations, balance sheet, and all that stuff is great. It's just they don't want to be the top, 5 miner. They want to do their own thing, and they're happy with that. Ivan says, Riot missed by a mile on BTC in a slump and didn't do much to the stock price. That's kind of what I've been saying, that I think a lot of the stuff is already priced in by investors, institutions, possibly even, that Q2 numbers were not going to be great. All right. But we'll see what the other ones report and how they react. Do you think BitDigital at 381 is the best value? I do believe that it's undervalued right now. Yeah, it's showing me that it is undervalued. So if you look at here's BitDigital right now. They're at 381. I'm between 406 and 609. I do think that they are undervalued. And the reason that I think that they are undervalued is because they don't own any infrastructure. If they owned infrastructure, I think they'd be getting a little bit higher stock price there for it, because they're just asset light. They own the miners, they own the HPC servers possibly, or they're leasing them back to themselves, however that's working out, but they don't have any infrastructure right now. So I think that's the only thing that's causing the stock to do what it's doing right now. Okay. Go back here. Let's see. Oh, CNO says, sorry, Seb, I was just telling Casey that Wall Street said Riot will definitely take over Bitfarms, not Anthony. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Wall Street, is Wall Street always right, though? We'll see. I mean, right now, we got to deal with what's happening in October with the shareholder vote. After that, we'll see. Let's see. Okay. At $80, which is all-time high price, Riot would be around 25 billion company. Do you think that is ever possibly, even if Bitcoin hits 150,000, thinking about converting Riot to IREN as 80 seems realistic. 80, yeah, I mean, you got, yeah, it would be like a $24 billion company at that point. So Bitcoin just goes up to 150,000. I don't think it's going to get to 80. At that point, I would expect it to maybe get to like between 40 and 60. I think we would need Bitcoin to be north of 150,000 at that point for them to get to $80 again. Let's see. Who do you expect is the next BTC miner to announce a big offering for their 2025 expansion? Whale. I would possibly see IREN doing it. I would possibly see Cleanspark, Marathon, Riot, pretty much everybody that can do it if they're going to be growing in 2025, unless they're selling their Bitcoin and things like that, which we know Marathon's not going to be doing, so they're going to be diluting to do that. We'll see if Cleanspark starts selling here anytime soon. Last cycle, they were selling as the price of Bitcoin was going up into the bull run, and then they were selling as it was coming down. So we'll see if they start doing that, or if they're going to hodl also like Marathon is doing, which I don't think is a good thing, but I could be wrong on that. So I think pretty much everybody's going to be diluting if they have to. Let's see. Brad says, conspiracy theory, Riot execs purchasing more Bitfarms shares with all their SG&A payments to themselves to increase their voting power and leverage over Bitfarms roundabout way to be 20% points. It could be, but I think even at that point, if you're just an individual, well, they would have to spread it out across a lot of people, I guess, because they can't. I think if you have, what is it, over 6% of a company or something like that, you have to report it or something. At that point, I think. I'm not sure. True Rebel sold 100,000 in Bitfarms. Is that shares or just cash? Either way, nicely done. Let's see. Let's see what do we got here. Just tuned in. Maybe I missed it. What would be the sequential process if Riot were to be able to pull off a hostile takeover for Bitfarms? Thanks. Well, if they're successful at that point, it's going to be they're going to be giving out shares in Riot, some in cash as well, and then we'll probably get some percentage of that depending on how many shares you had at what time. We'll get that, and Riot, and I don't know if we're going to get any cash, probably not, but probably shares. And so we'll see. I think it's still a long ways. And I mean, we're looking at October right now. If they do get a hostile takeover taken, it's still going to take probably another 6 to 12 months, if not longer, before that all goes through the regulatory process. At that point, we might be towards the end of the Bitcoin bull run, if it's a regular cycle like we've had in the past. So SNH says, I got 145,000 shares. We'll vote no. Great. What percentage of institutions hold Bitfarms? That one, let's take a look here. As of June numbers that I have for them, let's see here. Institutions held, what was it? 22% at that point, 88.6 million shares. That's kind of what they had them at. So if Riot owns 20%, if even all the institutions own it, so it'd be 42%, maybe investors, regular investors would still have enough votes to go against this. Maybe. Interesting. All right. Something to think about. Okay, what else we got here? Hi, Sip, have you invested all your money in Bitcoin miners? Is it a good idea to invest in 2 to 3 miners or 4 to 5 miners spreading? Thanks again, Seth, for the great work. Yes, I invested, well, a large portion is that I invested in the past, what is it now, going on 2.5 years from 2022 through now is basically, I would say, 100% into the Bitcoin miners and things like that. I've got Bitcoin and I got altcoins from the prior cycles as well that I still have. That makes up about a little bit less than half of my overall value of investing in Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin and altcoins and things like that. The miners now, I think, actually might be less than that. I think it's like at 33% right now, somewhere around there. I'd have to look at the numbers. But yeah, I pulled as much as I could in the last 2.5 years into the Bitcoin miners because I see that as a better leverage play on Bitcoin itself. So that's the way I did it. And it has worked out pretty well so far, but I don't think we're done yet. Now, as far as spreading over a couple miners, yes, I think it's wise to spread over a couple miners because you just don't know when a miner is going to come out with great news that they're getting to whatever exahash or they're getting an HPC customer or whatever it might be, right? So if you spread it over the couple good good miners, I think that's a good thing. Let's see. Do you think NVIDIA earnings report will be good? Feels like if they are great, then the whole market will rise leading into September at plus rate cut. If not, the market crashes. AI is carrying the market. Yeah, I think AI side of things is getting a little frothy there. I'm not really following NVIDIA, but based on just what we're seeing with everybody's trying to get into HPC AI, growing that stuff, I think they might beat their numbers, but we'll see. So did you buy enough Caspa? I did not buy Caspa. Let's see. Is there a chance the BTC cycle won't crash? There is a chance. It's a different cycle this time around. We've had a new all-time high before the halving event. We got more institutions getting involved in it. We had also, what was it? Russia came out that they're going to be legalizing Bitcoin mining. They're looking to put it also on being able to pay for payments and things like that. You got Donald Trump talking about it being put in the U.S. for reserve asset as well. Institutions, ETFs, all of this stuff. We're having much more adoption here this cycle, I think, than in the past. So it might be an extended cycle that we haven't had before, possibly. Only time will tell, unfortunately. I wish I had a crystal ball. Let's see. Okay. Can you quickly show, please, top 6 of mine companies and what their exahash targets by end of year and their HODL? It's hard to find. Sure. So let me go into my spreadsheets here. Okay. So top 6 of miners, that's okay. That should be easy enough. So you got this year at least. So you got Bitfarms, right? Their HODL as of June was 905 BTC. They're getting to 21 exahash this year. You got Cleanspark getting to 32 exahash. They got purchases for 50 exahash. But I don't know if they're going to be able to reach 50 exahash this year. They're supposed. Well, here's the funny thing. They're supposed to get miners delivered this year to get to 50 exahash. But where are they going to put them in? I have no idea. So they need to buy more infrastructure if they're going to do that. So I'm guessing 32 exahash this year and more growth next year. They have 6,581 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Then you have Core Scientific still at 20. They did put out a press release that they are getting 15 exahash from Block. We don't know when that's going to be, what cost. We don't have any details on that. Next would be IREN here. IREN's getting 30 exahash by the end of the year is their target. They don't HODL anything. Okay, there's 0. And you got Marathon here. Marathon is getting to possibly 52 exahash, 50 exahash, something like that. And they have a huge HODL here. They're at, I think, what are they at now? Like 20,000 Bitcoin because they purchased $100 million of Bitcoin here recently. And that's not included in here. We'll include that once they report the July numbers here, but that's where they're at. So they have plenty of growth there. Who else? Riot is supposed to get to 31 exahash this year. They bought enough to get to 40 exahash. They also own 9,334 Bitcoin here right now. And that is basically it as far as huge growth this year still that I would look at. Okay. All right, let's go back here. Let's see. Question sub. In short, aside from the self-compensation right numbers, this Q2 were not good, right? Thank you. Yeah, I mean, they weren't bad. They weren't great either. We kind of expected this to happen with the halving event on the side of things here. Overall, revenue was down a little bit on the self-mining. It was, let me see, where was it at? Where are they at? 76 million the prior quarter. And they were at 50-some million here. Where is it at? There it is, Riot. I'm looking at right at it. Right, they had, here we go. They had 74 million in Q1. They were at 55 million. So they're down, what is that, roughly 30%? Not even that. I don't think it would be even 30%. Well, 25 or 20%, something like that, down from where they were. Right, so it's not as bad as everybody was saying. It was going to be a 50% decrease in revenue. So it's not that bad. But we knew that was going to happen. We just need to see them have much better uptime going forward and things like that. But the stock-based compensation thing is what kind of hurt them. And then also the FASB rules, reevaluating the Bitcoin there, that also hurt them as well. So we'll see. I think the other miners that have a huge HODL position will take a hit as well because of the FSB rules, unless they were actually able to grow much more of their hash rate, increase their revenues, and still stay relatively lean going forward. So we'll see what the numbers come out for everybody else. What else we got here? CDN says, wow, you got 214,000 shares of Bitfarms voting no. Did crazy amount of research before I bought back in this spring. Ben, awesome. Ben is knit. Okay. Let me see what else we got here. District 9 says, better to bet on GME than Riot. Seriously, Jason Les needs to go. Let's see what else we got here. See, Bitfarms said if anyone holds more than 20%, then the poison pill can issue equal amount of shares, rights at a big discount, which will make it very expensive for Riot to buy. Yes, that is correct. He said, what do you see the price of CORZ being at the height of the market? Cheers. Well, that's tough because depending where they get to, like I talked about them getting 15 exahash from Block, when will that get installed? Also, when will they energize when will they get CoreWeave to energize their servers there so they start getting paid for that? That's going to depend on it, I think. So it all depends exactly when that happens. And then we'll see if they dilute at all going into next year as well. But I think they should get to easily like to $40, $50, if not higher. That's kind of where I'm seeing things right now. That's without any other things happening here. So they could go even north of that, possibly. Let's see. What are your predictions for IREN in 2025 and a year exahash target? I know they said 40 by first half 25. They could easily beat that before that date time. Under promise, possibly. Where could they get to by the end of the year? I mean, if they can get to 40 exahash in the first half, I would see them getting possibly to like 50 exahash, if that maybe like 60 exahash even by the end of the year. But we'll see. Right? You also have to remember that it takes less miners now to grow your hash rate because we're going to see continued improvements in exahash, not exahash, terahash per miner, better joules per terahash efficiencies and all that stuff. So, I mean, we're at our best miners now for the air cooler are like 234 terahash per miner. I mean, we could see next year miners coming out that are already like 300, 400 terahash per miner. So you need a lot less miners to grow, so it makes it easier, and the miners can grow faster at that point as well. But we'll see. Okay, you just said that it's possible that BTC doesn't drop down into the bear market. Does that also apply to the big mining stocks? Possibly. I mean, we don't know. We only have really like 2 cycles with the Bitcoin miners, and really it's only been like a 1 cycle with the big miners here. In the past, we had Hive, Bitfarms in 2017, 2018, right? And that was kind of towards the end. Yes, I mean, we really had 1 cycle in 2021, really, with the miners. So it's hard to tell how those will respond to it, because we know that the network hash rate is going to continue to grow. Difficulty is going to continue to increase, especially if Bitcoin stays elevated for longer periods of time. There's going to be more money pumping into it. So it's kind of hard to tell where things might end up for the miners. But if Bitcoin keeps going up, I think that will bode well for the miners as well going forward. But it will depend on the network hash rate for Bitcoin at that point. What else we got here? Eddie asks, does Jason Les and his team not have any shame? Their stock price has been pegged to $10 for the whole year, LOL. Yeah, I mean, the stock hasn't done well in the last 52 weeks. And it could be because of their operations were poor. Now it might be because of them trying to buy out Bitfarms as well. There could be a couple of things here that are the reason why the stock hasn't done well. Let's see. Eddie asks, when $3 billion HPC AI contract from IREN? Don't know if that's going to happen. It's tough to get that kind of contract. You need to retrofit the facilities at that point. They could build them out, but when are we looking at that? If they have to build out data centers that are tier 3, you're looking at possibly at that point in about 2 years for those things to get energized, maybe. If they can retrofit some of the buildings, we might be looking at a year out. So that's kind of where we're at with that. But yeah, all right, that is it. We'll call it a day here. I cut up to all your guys' questions here. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow we got Marathon reporting, I believe, their Q2 results. We also have Bitfarms probably reporting their July update already. I think we'll see if they get it. They're usually like the top one to provide that. And we'll see what else happens. Tomorrow's Thursday. And then Friday, we don't do a show anyways because it's Friday and everybody's partying. Plus, I'm picking up my wife and my kids at the airport. They're coming back from Europe. I'm going to be happy to see them. I haven't seen them in a month. And then we're probably going to be spending the night together, watching a movie, something like that, going out to eat or something like that. So we'll get into the swing of things over the weekend again. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. So thank you everyone for coming in. Really appreciate you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And then we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll do a live stream tomorrow as well. But that's it. Yeah. Have a great night, everyone. I'll see you guys next time.